Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time.
This episode uses the film Inception as a case study to explore how beliefs can be engineered to feel self-generated through architecture, emotional coherence, and narrative closure.
All right, so let's get right into it and forget about the spinning tops for a second, or whether the ending is real. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to go way deeper, right into the system that's running underneath the whole story. It's all about reframing what we think we know about this film so we can see the hidden architecture that's really at play.
You know, when you think of Inception, what comes to mind? Probably a cool sci-fi heist, right? Full of puzzles and dreams. And yeah, that's the surface reading. But we're going to do something different. We're going to do a systems reading. Because this movie, it's an absolutely incredible model for something way more relevant to our lives. How our beliefs get built, how ideas get planted in our heads, and yeah, ultimately, how our entire perception of reality is governed.
And the absolute key to this whole system is a concept we're calling belief architecture. So what is that? Well, think of it like this. It's an environment that's specifically designed to limit your thinking, to kind of put guardrails on your thoughts. The dream levels in the movie, they aren't just crazy fantasy worlds. Nope, they're mazes, carefully constructed mazes for the mind. And here's the most important part. Whoever designs the maze gets to control where you end up. They control all the possible conclusions. It's basically persuasion by design.
Okay, so if the architecture is the maze, the environment, then what's being planted inside it? The film gives us this really powerful, kind of creepy metaphor for it, an idea as a virus. A parasite that's not just resilient, but actually protects itself.
And this right here, this is probably the single most important line in the entire movie for understanding this system. It totally reframes what an idea even is. It's not just a thought floating around in your head. No, it's like a living thing. Something that wants to survive, that wants to spread. And get this, it's not about an idea being right. It's about it being contagious. So how does this actually work? How does an idea become a parasite? Well, first it gets implanted. Then it latches onto something deep inside you, a core emotional need, maybe a trauma or a deep desire. But step 3, this is where the real magic happens. It starts to feel like it was your idea all along, like you came up with it yourself. And once that switch flips, it becomes almost impossible to get rid of. The whole system works so well because the belief feels earned. It feels voluntary.
Okay, so this brings us to the engine that's powering this whole machine. We're calling it the coherence engine. And its fuel? It's not truth. Not at all. Its fuel is the feeling of truth, and that's a huge difference. This is all about why just feeling right is often way more powerful than actually being right.
Which really forces us to ask a pretty fundamental question, one the movie hits you with pretty hard. Does a belief have to be true, factually, provably true, for it to control what you do? And the answer the system gives us? It's a loud, clear no. Absolutely not. A belief doesn't need to pass some kind of truth test. It just needs to feel coherent, internally consistent. And it needs to give you some kind of emotional payoff, some satisfaction or closure. If it does those two things, that's more than enough to make it incredibly powerful.
So let's look at the parts of this engine, right? First, you've got the architecture, which, remember, limits your choices. Then you've got this need for a clean, satisfying story, what we call narrative closure. That completely replaces the messy business of actually checking the facts. You add in some deep emotional anchors, and suddenly the belief feels sacred, totally untouchable. And after a while, you don't even want to know if it's real anymore. Spinning the top, it just becomes irrelevant.
Okay, so this is all cool stuff from a movie, but why does it matter in the real world? Well, because this system gives us a really powerful map for understanding things we see every day. A perfect example? The architecture of misinformation.
The parallels here are just striking. Think about it. The designed dream worlds in the movie? How different are they really from our curated social media feeds? They're both environments designed to limit what we see. And those emotional anchors we talked about, they map almost perfectly onto things like identity-based grievances. And that need for a clean, simple ending? Well, that's exactly what simple, satisfying conspiracy theories provide. And this is key. It's not a moral failure on anyone's part. It's a structural issue.
Look, everything we've talked about so far, we are just scratching the surface. This is really just the entry point. It's an invitation to go way, way deeper into how this whole system works.
So just to be super clear, think of this as the orientation. The full, in-depth analysis is in our audio deep dive. That's where we really unpack every gear of this belief architecture and how it functions.
And in that deep dive, we get into some really big, challenging questions, like how exactly does something like trauma lock in a belief and make it so strong? Are we kind of complicit in our own deception because we just crave a simple, closed story? Why is uncertainty so incredibly uncomfortable for us? And maybe the biggest question of all, can a system like this actually survive forever without any connection to reality?
For a deeper, long-form analysis of this topic, see the full deep dive linked in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level breakdown, please like, subscribe, and comment with films or topics you'd like us to explore next.